and today I'm going to have a look at what to consider when buying a new kitchen. But first of all, I want to show you around the old kitchen that we've been left with through no fault of our own. And you can see that the linoleum on the floor is ripped, and that's because this washer is on an uneven floor and it dances a little bit. You can see that there's tiles there, and that's the switch for the outside, that's the switch for the kitchen, and it's on a large tube which I'll show you later. And this one's for the fan, which I'll show you later as well, but it doesn't work properly. Now the tiles I can't replace, and the tiles on the left are completely different to the tiles on the right. You can see there that we've not enough room on top of the cupboards, and you can see also there's a large light there which we can't find a diffuser for. That's the cover that goes over the bulb. They don't make them anymore in that type of light. You can see also that we've lights underneath the cabinets that I put in. They don't look very good, but we need them because it's so dark in that corner. And you can see also that they go to plugs which stick out of the wall, and the reason for that is that whoever put those plugs in didn't dig into the brickwork, and they put the cables on top of the brickwork. And you can see that on top of these particular tiles there's wood, and it's plastic on the other one. And of course you can see here as well the plugs are out of the wall, and we need them in because we need the extra room. And there's also a plug there for a cooker. God, heavens knows how long that's been in, or how old it is, or why we want one, because we're gas. Same again, all the plugs are coming out of the wall, and they should be integral by today's standards. And we're lucky enough we have a plastic windowsill, which eventually saved us a little bit of money. The worktops, you can see, are all ruined at the back of the sink. They're just crumbling away. And the sink itself there, look, it's got a dent in it, and I believe it leaks. And these taps for my wife, because she can't turn the other tap on. But every time we wash up, that gets wet, that wood, and of course it has a lingering smell about it. But these taps are ideal. That's the one good thing about this kitchen, the nice taps. And when we're at the kitchen sink, we can look outside, and on a nice day it's a beautiful view. But you can see there that the tiles are not buttered up properly actually. Whoever fitted those in, they didn't put the corner piece in, they just buttered them together. And now, if you don't like my Yorkshire accent, I've been told to speak in Yorkshire. But if you don't understand it, I'll put some words on the captions underneath. Now that's a dead drawer because it's under the sink. You can see under this particular, in this drawer, there's all wiring and plumbing, and it looks a complete mess. And it is a mess as well. And in the corner there, we can't get in and out of there because we can't get up and down as like we used to be able to do. and so we just put junk in there that we don't use, which takes up room. And these corner pieces, you can see are going, look, they're cracked, and as we say, we don't know how long they've been in, but they've been used a lot. And you can see also that this unit has just about had its days. We can't clean it. The only thing that we could do was maybe put a coat of paint over it if we were keeping it. And you can see that these things are rotten. They're just rotting away. That's the fixtures to the door. Underneath you can see that it's going as well. Now this is what we call a knick-knack drawer, where we store all sorts of things that we like to get our hands on when we're working in the kitchen. And you can see a gap there between the worktop, and the worktop's higher I should say, than the gas cooker, and it doesn't look nice at all. And there's nothing we could have done about that unless we rip the old kitchen out. This gas cooker's also on a chain for safety, which I put in, and we also put those edges on there, those metal edges on, because the worktop was just rotting away, decaying. So we put those on, which you could get at any DIY shop, I think we got them from. But there's two depth types, so you have to be careful which size you want. You have to measure them first. Just moving on a little bit to the fan. I mentioned earlier, this fan doesn't work. It's a state-of-the-art fan, and we had it put in, and it's supposed to work on two phases. One phase just takes the heat out of the room, and the second phase, when it kicks in, takes the heat and the steam out of the room, and the second phase doesn't work. And you can see also that we're strapped for room. We have to put things on top of these cupboards. Doesn't look nice. Luckily this wall's not too bad, but I suspect underneath those units it's going to be a bad wall because it's an old house. Once again, you can see there's things on top of the units. We just haven't got the room to store. And also we've put some bread up there, which is not a good idea because it dries out too quick. But you can see the handles have all gone. They're all shot at. We've put things in where we can to be right for my wife. My wife cannot lift weights, so my heavier cups go on the second shelf and the lighter cups go on the bottom shelf so that she can pick hers out there. Now there's a wall on the right there which we could have another unit, and you can see there we've just got things shoved in. Again, on the bottom shelf it's the lightweight stuff, the lightweight plates, and sorry, in that case the heavier ones are at the bottom and the lighter ones are further up. Again, for my wife, who is having problems with her hands. But there's where we could have another cabinet on there, and the clock could be easily moved. And you can see once again we're storing things on top of the fridge, and there's a big gap there. You can see also that there's a bin there for the kitchen waste before it goes out into the council bins, and that's not very nice to look at. And the reason that I filmed the fridge is that you can see a black dot there on the right hand side, and that's the door handle from the kitchen door bangs into it all the time, so that could be moved as well. This is the best storage cupboard we've got, but once again, right at the back, we can't put anything in there that we use all the time, because it gets pushed to the back and it gets forgotten about. Once again, there, look, everything's cracking up in the corner. It's just old, but we don't know how old it is. And we keep things in that one I've just shown you because it's the coolest one in the house. So I think that's about it on this one. I'll stop there. Oh, I must tell you about this, and that's there because every time we wash up, water runs onto the floor. You can see that this particular unit where the washing up thing is, it's in line with the door. Well, I've mentioned that because that's going to change. But also, I meant to carry on and say that the towel is on the floor because whoever put the worktop in before put it on a slant, that the room slants down towards this end a little bit, and the water just runs off the worktop onto the floor. And once again, we wouldn't have known about anything that I've mentioned when we came to the house. And so what we've decided was that we're going to have people, experts in to sort all this out. I'm just pointing out there that we also put that on ourselves because it was crumbling away at the corner and it looked bad. And in this corner as well, we have to do something about that. And I don't know what we'll do about that because it probably not be within the price. The floor's a lino type, a thick lino type that looks like wood, and when it's finished, it'll look nice. But you can see there's all bits knocked out of that side panel, and also the linoleum's ripped because this, when the washer was put in, what we didn't know is the floor was uneven, and it dances and it rips the linoleum. That's what we would see if we were standing at the back door, a nice view of the garden and beyond. On a lovely day, it's beautiful. So all the worktops are more or less, they've had it, really. There's only just enough room to put the washer in, but as it happens, that's the height it's going to have to be. I'm not sure what we're going to do from here. I think we've seen most of this video piece where I put all these tiles you can see are either dented or cracked, or we can no longer keep up to cleaning them. It's the same with these plugs. They look old-fashioned and out of date, and on the left-hand one there, you can see there's a screw missing altogether, which actually I didn't know about until I started making this film. But overall, the ambience of the kitchen is not very good at all, and I think we've already seen the light, so I'll stop that there. So we decided on the kitchen we wanted, and I will explain all that at the end of the video. And this is what happened. You can see that the electrician's been and he's put the wires into the wall. That took about 4 hours, and the noise was horrendous. But I did tell our neighbours what was happening, and they didn't have a problem with that. So you can see all the wires that's under the going to be under the units has been put into the wall, and I'll explain that one later, that wire there. You can see that the the walls themselves in places are really bad, and that's because it's an old house. So we had to have the walls replastered, and of course that plug had to be moved, and we were lucky actually in one sense that most of the plaster didn't fall away. Here you can see we've got everything stored. This is an old camping table we've had for years. You can see that there's boxes of stuff in there. Very little room to work with. More boxes in the front room. In fact, every room in the house had some boxes in. And there's the kettle, of course, and the worktop there, space for the table, is all we had to work with for 11 days. Because everything had been done in the old kitchen when it had been done was wrong, we called in the experts, and the people we had were the people we bought the kitchen off. And I personally would recommend that. I wouldn't recommend having somebody that you know do it. It'll take a lot longer, and they may not do it to your requirements. But you can see the uneven floor there where the washer went, and you can see the corner bit where the sink went, and what a mess it was. Fortunately, it was dry, and I expected water being going down the back. Now, this piece of wood, nobody could move it, so he incorporated that into the units, and this is where the bespoking comes in. This kitchen was bespoke, even though the units were standard size, they all had to be cut to specific sizes, and it took longer. Now, it took longer because we had the plastering done, as you can see, and the plastering took 2 or 3 days to dry. So no sink, no water downstairs, as I've mentioned, and the whole thing took about 11 days, and we were at our wits' end by this time. And I would recommend to people of my age group, retired, if they can live somewhere else while the work's being done, do that with relatives, and just keep coming back each day and talking to the fitter or the electrician, or also in our case, the plasterer. Now, the electrician, because we wanted extra work doing, was an extra cost on top of the kitchen, and so was the plastering. So you would have to budget for things like that before you make a start. We also were able to pick the units that we wanted. There were several we could get. We could have paid £1,000 more for a different set of units, but they were rounded at the ends, and it took more putting in into the system when he was erecting them. I'm just showing you a little plug there. That's because we had a chain on the gas cooker, and you can see the plastering was done really well. And also, and I will explain that wire as well later. You could also see that there was the original tiles on this. That would be the kitchen area originally, and you don't have to have the wires plugged into the wall where under the units are going to go. But there was a corner piece there that would make it so that the fitter would have to bespoke everything around that corner bit there. When I say bespoke, I really mean cut it to size and fit it, don't I? And the plug had to be moved. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Yes, there it is. It had to be moved because the worktop was going to be a bit longer. Showing you what to expect if you're going to buy a new kitchen. Here you can see all the deliveries being undertaken, by two very helpful men, I should add. But this is another room we can't use at the moment because of all these flat packs. The yellow thing, by the way, is the skip that I mentioned earlier, but you can see it's in complete disarray. Well, there wasn't enough room to store the worktops in the house, so I had to put them in the shed. I did measure the shed up first before the men made the delivery, and there's just about a couple of centimetres left for the length I needed. So in there's the workbenches, some plastics, and splashbacks, and the splashbacks I'll mention later. If you haven't got the room to do them yourself, store these things yourself, you may have to ask friends or relatives to store them for you, because in the house it's going to be very difficult. Very lucky to get a man who loved doing what he did, and we were able to build up a rapport with the man so that he could trust us to leave all his gear on site. And because of that, it meant that he could start work at 8:30 in the morning, and he hardly had a break actually, and he used to work through until he thought he should stop. And when he thought he should stop was if he got completed work. Now here you can see some new units of bottoms have gone in, and top units are ready to go in, and all those have had to be put together by the fitter. And in this case, we were able to use a little bit of the worktop when it wasn't there, and of course we had to clean down again. But you saw the worktop on the first section, how small we had to work with in the other room, and you're talking about maybe a metre square. So here we have the panels put in the side of the cooker, and he's raised the cooker, and you can see that the plaster's all nice and dry, so as soon as he realises that, he'll start putting the units on the walls. And as I said, here's the panels. Look at the side of the cooker, and the cooker will be in line with the worktops when he's finished. Something different, and the sizes of the units were different this time, and you can see there that there's that this unit is about 3 or 4 centimetres less than the other one. I'm going to have to build that corner up, and these are the splashbacks I mentioned earlier, and what it does, you don't have to do any tiling. We didn't want to mess about with tiling at our age, and we actually, when the job was finished, we were quite pleased with them. We will have to, in my view, put some hedging round, and there at the bottom there you can just see that the cooker has been raised by using a spare piece of this worktop, and so when we get the new floor covering, we shall get it the same colour as that worktop. Here he's been able to put an extra shelf in there for us, which will be very helpful when we want to store things. You can see it's much tidier around there. Nice to see the sinking. Hot and cold comes out of one tap, and the taps are much easier for my wife to use. She can't turn the others. The joining of the worktop's very nice, and I think you can just see it now there. The grain goes one way and another way. The units will go there. That wire I will explain later. And you can see that how smooth it is behind the cooker and at the side of the cooker where the electrician's been, and that's because of the plaster, and he did a good job for us actually. Unfortunately it had to wait 2 or 3 days to dry, which meant a longer stay for us without water in the sink to wash up. We had to go upstairs to the bathroom and the basin in the bathroom to wash all our crockery. I can see that this worktop is slightly longer than the other one. No, you can't see that, but you will be able to see that later. Oh, the gap's less than the other one. You remember the other one had the kitchen waste bin there. Well, it won't be able to go there now. And these is just little bits of building up of the extra unit that's gone in the corner. The clock's gone now, of course. The clock will finish up over the top of the fridge freezer. And these drawers, this will be the knife drawer, knife and fork drawer I should say. Now these are self-shutting drawers, and when the fronts get on you'll see that. You push them so far and then they close on their own. There it goes up. And the second drawer down will be what we call the knick-knack drawer, to put all sorts of odds and ends in there. And the bottom one will be the pan drawer. Once again you can see that we're eating on that table. Not very well actually, it's not very comfortable. And you can see that the man's storing all his kit in there, and he had a lot of kit. So something to remember when you need a fitter of your own. Is he going to provide a lot of kit? Because the more he's got, the quicker it will be. And just a little shot there of at the progression so far. 2 or 3 units up on the walls and units on the ground. Coming together nicely now, isn't it? So pleased with it so far. Because we're living in what we're going to term a tip, because you can see there's turmoil, the fans exposed there, there's cold air coming in. Being old, we couldn't cope as well as you would if you was younger. And we got to arguing, which is expected, but at this stage we felt as though a weight was lifted off our heads, and it was lovely to see things starting to progress again. I think at this stage we were still washing crockery upstairs. Fortunately we had hot water up there to work with. But you can see the finish needs doing. Lots to do up there, under there yet. But it is coming along fine. I've mentioned that corner before. You can see it's a mess. But I will be able to do something about that. That wasn't in the price, that corner, so I would have to do it myself. But here you can see more splash backs are up, and it's not behind the cooker because that is a fire hazard. So you can see there's a gap there. There's lights up there, which I'll show you. Splashbacks in the window. The plugs have not been touched yet because it wasn't decided at this stage what sort of plugs we needed. But you can see that the splashbacks have made a huge difference to the back back walls. And what we felt was at our age that the splashbacks would be easier to wipe than retiling and re-grouting over the years as the years passed on. Much tidying there, you can see. If you remember from the first video, it was a conglomeration of wires and pipes. This particular plug works in two ways. You can push it down, water stays in the sink. You can pull it up and it filters anything that shouldn't go down the plug, which is an advantage. And I think there's 11 advantages altogether, and I will describe them in the later videos. Well, here you can see my wife's got the sink working again, and that was a hooray moment for us all. We were able to wash up in that sink, and I think, as I said before, it may have taken about 11 days. I've not been able to use it. You can see there clearly that the cooker is now in line with the worktops. The plugs have got to be done yet because they've not been purchased. The decision was for me to decide what sort we was going to have, which added cost to the electrician's bill. But these lights was in with the price, and the finish has got to be done there yet. It's done some there, you can see. And those holes where the screws are, there's caps for those to cover those up. You can see the handles are large, and you can still see there's some of the old markings where he was going to put the units, or maybe where the old units came down. But as you can see there, he's matched the splashbacks on the window superbly. And of course, all I'm doing there is showing you that the sink works again in our favour. We were so pleased with that, being able to get the sink working, that we felt we would have another go at it. Now, on this occasion, I've shown you those plugs there on this occasion because the fitter put that plug back on. And the reason he did that was that he worked one night while about 8 p.m. outside, and he used our outside light to cut things into place. And he was trying his best to get done for the weekend. The drawers, look. There's the knife drawer with the front on, all nice and sorted out, plenty of room in there, much more room than the last one. Self-closing, there you go, closes on its own, wonderful that, no sound, it doesn't make us any sound at all when it's closed. The knick-knack drawer we have to fill, once again that's a self-closing drawer, there you go, lovely. And the bottom drawer is a pan drawer, and we will utilise them better later when we, there you go, look, everything shuts like that, and so do the doors on the units. Now, there's a lot of way. This is a corner piece, and we asked for this, and it's because we can utilise that corner. Some people don't like these, but we thought it was wonderful, and we still think it's wonderful. So you close that on its own, it will shut on its own, it's a bit stiff at the moment, and then you close that to it, and that closes on its own, and it utilises that corner. Otherwise we would have been like the other one you saw, and we wouldn't have been able to use the corner. So good strong shelves. Again, everything shuts down on its own. That's a good plus. We don't have to make a sound and upset people. These have just been put in there for the moment, for the time being, until we get organised. We had much more space than we had before, and of course we don't have to have anything on top of the units now. 3 lights, and as it happens they were adequate. No shadows when cooking, but I will show you that later. The fanning has yet to be done, and an electrician will come along and do something with that, hopefully at a later time. My apologies for the film, by the way. Well, you can see that the electrician has to come back and put all the fittings in. I've got some painting to do by the look of it. When that'll get done, I don't know. And everything's more or less done except for the electrical work to be finished. But I'll show you a bit more about that later. Where we are at long last, you can see the electrician has been. We've got some silver switches in now. You can see the lights are on underneath the units, and that's why the wires were sticking out earlier. I showed you there. There's enough light there to cover everything when we're cooking and washing up in the sink. So all in all, it's a nice looking kitchen, a good utility kitchen. And I did say that we have 11 things now that we didn't have before. Now we've come in £50 under budget, but when you consider that we've the decorating to do, we would have to purchase a new bin to go under the sink, and we would have to purchase new linoleum that looks like wood. We'll probably be about maybe £100 to £150 over budget, but that's all I do believe. So the question we've asked ourselves is, would we do it again? And the answer is no. The stress levels were too high for our age group. Having said that, if we hadn't been in the house, that would have been fine. But the thing to remember is, if you are going to have something done like this, make sure you have it done to the standard you'd like it, rather than the standards you think you should have. Because once it's done, you may not be satisfied with it if you haven't had everything done. I've slowed this piece down just so that I can do a little bit of speaking. But you can see here we're getting back to normal. We've got a table to work from now downstairs, and the place is still in a shambles actually. Even at this stage there's lots of cleaning down to do, boxes to remove, and break the boxes up so that it can go in the skip. I showed you that yellow plastic large bag. And so we're still, in a way, even at this stage, still living out of boxes. And as I said before, 11 days is a long time to be messing about like that. Now, if you are going to do it, please look into it and look into it and look into it, and keep doing that before you decide what you're going to buy. And try and make sure that you've got everything on a list before you speak to anyone that comes out to measure the kitchen up, which I recommend highly. I wouldn't try to do it myself. Some companies ask you to measure upon your own, but I personally would ask someone to come and measure up, as they did in our case, and let them get on with it. Let them discuss with you you discuss with them what you want and let them give you some ideas you may have forgotten about. One thing that we had forgotten about was that in the old kitchen, the doors open into our face. These doors open from the middle to the end, and that way they don't open into our face. So that's one thing that we had thought about, that the man who came to measure it up for us decided would be advantageous to us. And you can see the splashbacks look a little bit harsh at the moment because there's nothing around the edges, and we didn't pay for anything around the edges, so I should say hedges. I do apologise, it's my dialect. But so that will be another cost that we will have to look into. But we're not in a hurry with that one, and we will look at what the best options are out there. One thing to consider when you've had all this done is you do not want any of your worktop things to touch your splashbacks, so you might need to purchase some kind of beading of some description, plastic beading, to put around the edges of between the worktop and the splashback, and that way the splashbacks will not get scratched. And so that's another added cost, but these are costs that you can consider later. I have said earlier in the first video that you need to start looking, in my view, just after Christmas. Not to make a purchase, but to get your ideas, because it takes such a long time for you to get your ideas. You get fed up of it all, then you've got to go back and look, have you missed out on something? Like this corner piece here, we didn't know about that. We will have to do that ourselves, but we have got a little bit of splashback left over, which will suffice. These switches, you can see what I mentioned were all extra, so you've got to take all things like that into consideration. And also, you may have a long time to wait before the kitchen can be fitted. Now, in my view, what you need is some experts in there, so we chose the people who work for the company, and we did that because when you saw the first video, you saw that there was all sorts of things wrong with it. Water leaking onto the floor, we had a towel there. We spoke to our man, he said, you get none of that when I've done it, because it'll all be flat, and we don't have to have a towel down now. So things like that. And also, if you get your own people in, which is going to be cheaper to start with, you may have lots of hidden costs that they haven't told you about. The plastering example for ours was a cost we had to meet. We didn't have to do it, actually, because the splashbacks may have covered it up, but we thought a few years down the line the plaster would have crumbled away, and it would have affected these splashbacks eventually. So you've lots and lots of things to think about, so you mustn't rush into it, in my view. And then, of course, when you've done all that and you've decided what you want, you've got to look at, some people say, oh, we've got a sale on, and I don't know if you know that may mean the sale is only on the washer, the cooker, the fridge, if you're having them fitted, and have nothing to do with the units. On the other hand, it might just be the units and the worktop that are on sale, and the rest of it are not on sale, and might be slightly more expensive than you would buy anywhere else. So you've all that to think about, the total cost. And of course, you have to find out how long it's going to take before anyone comes. Now, how it works is you pay your money, you put 10% down, and then you pay the other money up front. When you've done all that, whether you're paying cash or not, then the order can go in place. When the order's been put in place, you will be told when the fitters can come, and you will be told, if they're coming at Monday, you will be told that your flat packs will be coming at Friday. So you've all that to organise. You've got to have someone there to accept all the flat packs, as I showed you earlier. Ours went into the dining area and the worktops went into the shed. We didn't have to ask anybody else for their help. As it turned out, the people that live on either side of us wouldn't have been able to help us on that particular day because they weren't going to be in. So you've got that to figure out. And then when the day comes, you've got to have everything packed away. So you might want to leave yourself a week to pack things away. I did say earlier that I got 12 boxes, 12 large boxes, and the size of the boxes will count on what your standard of fitness is. In other words, if you're going to be carrying boxes upstairs and they're very big boxes and you're not very fit, or if you're old like me, that's no good. You need smaller boxes. And believe me, while the work's undertaken, your house will look like a junk shop in every room. There's no escaping it. There's boxes everywhere that's for things that will eventually go back into the kitchen. So you've got a lot of stress there that you can do without. Some people deal with it better than others. We did all right for, I would say, there's something called, I would say we did all right for the first 3, maybe 4 days. And then everything went well. We was very pleased with everything until the plasterer came. And then, of course, we had to wait 3 days where nothing got done at all until the plaster dries. Fortunately, we had good weather. Now, that's another point. You need these people coming to your home to put the kitchen in when the weather's warm. No good having it put in the winter time when they're coming in and out of the house and the house will be freezing. So as I said earlier, you've got a lot to think about. Don't rush into it, but the overall effect, if you do it right, and you get the right people in, who's been doing the job a long time, in my view, use those people, the experts, you should finish up with a decent job and be pleased with what you've done. Now, the other thing is, if you see that the fitter is doing something for you and you have not thought about it, and you talk to him and say, oh, we really could have done with that as well, he will tell you that it's not within the price and you will have to go back to the shop and purchase whatever it is. And you may have to wait, actually, for it to be delivered unless you can bring it back yourself. So that may hold the job up a little bit for you as well. Now, I have heard that specialised things, there was a lot of cutting out to be done on this particular kitchen, but I have heard that some people have had people in working on the kitchen for a lot longer than we had. Another point to remember is if you are having electrical goods fitted, you may have to wait for the appropriate people to fit them. And if you've got somebody that's fitting a washer, he may not be able to fit the a dishwasher or something like that. So you may have to wait for that, and you will have to ask all these pertinent questions. Will all these people be coming at the same time? How long will it take? And what happens if we come across a problem? Have you got people there that can do the job? And so on and so forth. Having said that, we're very pleased with the kitchen. We hope it's going to last a long time for us. We hope we never have to do it again. And we hope that when we've got it to our liking, because we've mentioned we've still things to do, a corner of the door example, as an example, once we've got it to our own liking, that should be for a long time. We shouldn't have to do anything but decorate. And at my age, I will probably get someone in to decorate, because I am no longer any good on ladders. And I was, believe me, when I was younger, I used to be able to climb ladders and erect aerials on rooftops. But yeah, it would be foolhardy for me to even try that now. In fact, we've got rid of the ladders, and I would say to anybody who is 50 plus, if you've got a ladder, get rid of it and let someone else come and unblock your drains and so on and so forth. So I'm rambling on a bit there. I think I've run out of things to say. I hope you've enjoyed the video.